First of all, let me begin by making it very clear that it was with no great joy that the General Assembly voted to temporarily raise taxes. And I was the sponsor of that bill, and I willingly come in front of you today. I wasn't subpoenaed to come here to talk to you about it. For too long, our fiscal health just was ignored. Some considered Illinois government the biggest drag on the state economy, citing the inability to pay our bills and unwillingness to address the situation. We had become, as a state, a deadbeat. Service stations filling up school buses never knew when they were going to get paid. And the social service groups caring for our disabled and senior citizens also were concerned about whether they would ever get paid. Many stopped taking state business or teetered themselves on closing because we weren't acting. Wall Street cast us off as irresponsible, threatening to brand Illinois with junk bond status. In fact, that was proven to be the case because after we passed the tax, the rating agencies gave us more credit for it. We took an unpopular yet responsible action, an action that will shore up our economy and our economic standing. In a recent opinion piece, the chief operating officer of the Illinois Business Journal said that the tax increase was inevitable, and I will just quote from what he said. If you were thinking that the state could balance its budget by cutting waste, fraud, and abuse, you were floating in be cut is chump change compared to the obligations, and the state can't walk away from its pension debts and its overdue bills. We haven't solved all of our problems. We are not out of the woods, but after years of inaction, we are now clearing a path to move forward, but much still needs to be done to prove fiscal responsibility. This is why we must work together on reforms and savings. So we are going to be doing that this year. We are working with Republicans to continue to cut money from the governor's introduced budget. We did find common ground on Medicaid reforms just actually this year, in January. They cut eligibility, they expand managed care, and they produce millions in savings. We, a couple years ago, approved a pension system for new employees that will make them work longer for lower benefits than their previously hired coworkers. This will lower future state contributions in the coming decades by more than $71 billion. And it draws down the unfunded liability by more than $250 billion. That's $1 trillion. Had we not passed that, we wouldn't have had that savings. So, as Doug said, workers' compensation. We must act immediately to bring that system under control and make it competitive with that of other states. Senator Radonio, my counterpart, and I have already heard hours of testimony to help identify problems and fixes. I believe a workers' comp overhaul is the single most important piece of legislation we can pass this session to prove that we're serious about improving the business climate. So as far as the business climate is concerned, it's the #1 issue. And let me make it clear on workers' comp, this is not a Democrat versus Republican issue. Let's put it this way, there's no votes in both of our caucuses to change the workers' comp system. So we have to work together to see if we can get compromises from both sides, to see if we can get in the Senate 30 votes to pass a bill. And this, therefore, is a chance for you to play a key role in helping fix this. So I urge you to let your voices be heard across the street, but keep in mind that we have to have a compromise. And if you go into negotiations where you expect to get 100% of what you want, it's going to be very difficult to proceed down here. Now, I also am sure that you saw the media coverage of the Caterpillar CEO's letter to Governor Quinn. Now, I would like to point out that Mr. Oberhelman never mentioned taxes in that letter. In fact, he too had previously said that a state tax increase was inevitable given the scope of our budget problems. I actually had lunch with him shortly after our January vote, actually before our January vote, and he pointed out to me that what he really wanted was stability. He wanted to have the state have stability, give him a base so he knows what he can plan for the future. And that's what we're working to do. We might not be in great shape, but think back. to the dysfunction of the Blagojevich era. Remember his gross receipts tax, which was a tax not on people, just on corporations, so it didn't count, and it really an assault on businesses. Those who doubt our willingness or ability to improve the business climate or the Democrats' ability to help the economy should take a look at the McCormick Place reforms. So this is a bill that cut red tape, tightened union work rules, reduced convention costs. Major groups, as you know, had considered leaving. They've returned, new businesses coming in, and we passed these reforms over the wishes of organized labor, which most would consider to be a Democrats' ally. In fact, it gave me my first opportunity to have pickets. There was an event that Speaker Madigan and I were going to. We had our first opportunity to have people picket us. So it was kind of fun. Union lawsuits have temporarily delayed our McCormick Place reforms. However, I'm confident that the courts will ultimately side with us, and this is an important piece of legislation for business and the state. And if for some reason the courts don't overturn the court ruling, we'll be back here with new legislation to accomplish the same goal. We're also committed to education reforms and re-examining teacher evaluations, tenure, and how to get ineffective teachers out of our classrooms. We will definitely be passing that legislation this year. So it has been, though, disheartening about how other governors have used our actions to distract from their own economic woes. So Wisconsin's governor thinks he'll lure businesses away after we passed our income tax. So we looked at Wisconsin's taxes, and they're higher than ours, even after our increase. And regardless of your personal politics, you really have to question whether or not Wisconsin is politically and economically stable. I think we are. In fact, I'd like to thank Governor Walker for making Illinois look normal again. Indiana's governor, the miracle worker, Governor Daniels does a good job over there, but you have to remember that he raised the state sales tax as soon as he got elected to help stabilize his economy. And then New Jersey, please. Governor Christie skips billions in pension payments, skips them, so that future generations, have to pay that penalty. Decides to keep $1 billion in local revenue sharing, and then comes here to Illinois and spends money in our media market. Thank you for spending money in our media market to try to get people to move to New Jersey. He spent more money in our media market than he did on his own pension system. New Jersey has the highest taxes in the nation. Nobody's going to be going to New Jersey from Illinois. So we have taken tough action, and it allows us to turn the corner, bring stability back to our communities and our marketplaces. I think it's the right message that we've sent to the business community that it's safe to do business with Illinois. Now, we have another accomplishment that I want to just point out, our commitment to economic stability with the nearly $31 billion investment in infrastructure. Illinois has a lot to market and to business looking to expand or relocate. The infrastructure program, which we passed in 2009 with bipartisan support for our roads and bridges and our schools, is really a significant accomplishment. That year, in 2009, collectively, all the states in the nation, according to the National Conference of State Legislatures, passed $39 billion worth of stimulus. $31 billion of it was in Illinois. Again, there's legal challenges from those who don't like our reforms, and I'm confident that the Supreme Court will uphold our efforts. But if they don't, and I believe the construction program is so important that I'm willing to resurrect that bipartisanship and reenact it if needed. So if I had my way, we'd go ahead and do it now and not wait for a court opinion. But that plan was approved with Republican and Democratic support. I'm committed to maintaining a bipartisan, if not nonpartisan approach to it going forward. I don't believe the optimism for a new era of prosperity in Illinois is naive, as some critics claim, because frankly, when you look at our record of fiscal stability and our commitment to long-term responsibility, Illinois is a great place to call home.